The prize never chases. The prize is chased. This is a fundamental law of nature, economics, and social dynamics. Yet, look at the behavior of the average modern man. He operates in a state of perpetual pursuit. He initiates every text. He pays for every interaction. He laughs at jokes that are not funny. He agrees with opinions he does not hold. He constantly monitors the other person's reaction, terrified of a moment of silence or a sign of disapproval. He believes he is being polite or perhaps romantic. But in the cold calculus of evolutionary psychology, he is signaling something very different. He is signaling that he is a surplus commodity in a market that does not need him. He is the desperate salesman standing on the lot, begging someone to take a test drive. And in this transaction, he has zero power. Most men are exhausted by modern dating because they have fundamentally misunderstood their role in the exchange. You have been conditioned to believe that you must sell yourself. You polish your profile, you rehearse your stories, and you display your resources like a peacock spreading its feathers. You hope that if you present a compelling enough brochure, she will buy you. This is the seller frame. The seller is inherently in a position of weakness. The seller has a quota to meet. The seller needs the transaction more than the buyer does. When you approach a woman, or any high-stakes social interaction, with the mindset that you must impress her to win her approval, you have already lost the frame. You have handed her the authority to judge your worth. To reclaim your dignity and your power, you must flip the script entirely. You must adopt the buyer frame. In any negotiation, the person with the money, the person with the capacity to walk away, holds the leverage. The buyer does not dance for the salesman. The buyer asks questions. The buyer evaluates the merchandise. The buyer checks for defects. The buyer is skeptical. When you shift your internal setting from, "I hope she likes me," to, "Is she good enough for me?" you change your entire biological signal. You stop vibrating with anxiety and start radiating the calm indifference of a man who has options. This is not about arrogance. It is about accurate self-valuation. Let us dissect the psychology of the prize dynamic. In every social interaction, there is a prize, and there is a pursuer. Evolution favors the prize. The prize represents high value, scarcity, and genetic fitness. The pursuer represents need. When you try to impress a woman, you are implicitly stating that her attention is more valuable than your dignity. You are the dancing monkey. You tell jokes to get a laugh. You brag about your job to get a nod. You are performing labor to earn a currency called validation. A man operating in the buyer frame does not perform labor for free. He invests his attention only when he sees a return on that investment. He understands that his time, his commitment, and his resources are the assets. She is the applicant applying for access to those assets. This shift is difficult because society tells men that they are the pursuers. You are told to chase. But look at the men who are actually successful with women, the ones who command genuine respect and attraction. Do they chase? No. They invite. They select. They screen. They are not worried about saying the wrong thing because they are not trying to close a sale. They are trying to determine if the person across from them meets their standards. If she does not, they do not get angry. They simply withdraw their attention and move on. This withdrawal is not a manipulation tactic. It is a natural consequence of low value. One of the most damaging manifestations of the seller frame is the fear of silence. When a conversation lulls, the nervous seller rushes to fill the void. He asks a random question. He starts babbling about the weather. He signals panic. He is terrified that the customer is losing interest. A man in the buyer frame is comfortable with silence. He lets the silence hang in the air. He looks at her, calm and unbothered. He places the burden of the conversation on her shoulders. He signals that he is content to sit in his own reality and that he does not need her constant entertainment to feel okay. Paradoxically, this silence creates attraction. It shows that you are not intimidated by her. It forces her to invest effort to re-engage you. When she breaks the silence, she is chasing you. You must also stop being a passive consumer of her reality. Most men ask safe, boring questions. How was your day? What do you do for work? These are the questions of a man who is just happy to be there. A buyer asks qualifying questions. A qualifying question is a challenge. It is a hoop you ask her to jump through to prove she is interesting. Instead of asking, "Do you like travel?" ask, "What are you passionate about other than Instagram and brunch?" Watch how she reacts. Does she have a real answer? Does she have depth? Or does she get offended that you dared to challenge her? Her reaction is data. You are collecting data to decide if you should keep this person in your life. If you are on a date and she is on her phone or she is giving one-word answers, the seller tries harder. The seller thinks, "I am losing her. I need to be more entertaining." The buyer sees a defective product. The buyer sees disrespect. The buyer checks the time, pays the bill for what he consumed, and leaves. He does not make a scene. He does not complain. He simply recognizes that the value proposition is not there. By walking away when the standard is not met, you reinforce your own high value. You teach your own subconscious that you do not accept scraps.
The mistake of impressing is deeply rooted in a scarcity mindset. You believe that opportunities are rare, so you must secure this specific one at all costs. You tolerate disrespect, flakiness, and boredom because you are afraid of the empty space that will follow if she leaves. But the buyer knows that the market is vast. The buyer knows that his resources, his protection, his provision, his loyalty are rare and valuable. He does not give them to the first person who shows up. He gives them to the person who earns them. When you treat your attention like gold, people rush to mine it. When you treat your attention like mud, people walk all over it. We need to address the concept of the pedestal. When you put a woman on a pedestal, you are forcing her to look down on you. You cannot negotiate a fair deal from your knees. The buyer frame levels the playing field. It acknowledges that she may be beautiful, she may be charming, but beauty is common. Character is rare. Loyalty is rare. Peace of mind is rare. You are looking for those rare qualities. If she brings only beauty to the table, she is offering a depreciating asset. You are offering appreciating assets, your future, your ambition, your stability. In business terms, you are bringing more equity to the merger. Therefore, you should have more voting rights. So how do you practically implement this without becoming a narcissist? It starts with having genuine standards. You cannot be a buyer if you do not know what you are looking for. Most men have a list of physical traits they want, but zero requirements for character. You need to write down your top 5 non-negotiables. These are not preferences. These are deal breakers. For example, must be honest, must have her own ambition, must be capable of silence, must respect my time, must take accountability. Once you have this list, you have a rubric for evaluation. When you meet someone, you are not thinking, "Does she like my shirt?" You are thinking, "Does she meet criteria number 3? This mental shift completely eliminates social anxiety because you are no longer the one being tested. You are the proctor of the exam. During interactions, monitor your own engagement. If you are bored, stop smiling. Stop nodding. Authentic behavior is high status. If she tells a story that is not interesting, look away. Check your phone. Signal that your attention is not free. It must be earned. This sounds harsh, but it is necessary calibration. If you reward boring behavior with attention, you will get more boring behavior. If you withdraw attention when value is low and give attention when value is high, you train people how to treat you. You are using the psychological principle of intermittent reinforcement, not to manipulate, but to maintain your own sanity. The buyer frame also changes how you handle rejection. To a seller, a rejection is a failed sale. It is a crisis. It means he is a bad salesman or the product is flawed. To a buyer, rejection is simply a mismatch. It is walking into a store, looking at a jacket and realizing it does not fit. You do not cry about the jacket. You do not beg the jacket to fit. You put it back on the rack and walk out. If a woman is not interested in you, she has saved you time. She has disqualified herself from your selection process. You should mentally thank her for her honesty and move on to the next option. There is no sting, because your self-worth was never on the table. Your self-worth is inherent. It is not determined by the outcome of the transaction. You must understand that women are naturally repelled by the seller mindset because it signals weakness. Biologically, a woman is looking for a man who is solid, who has his own frame, and who cannot be easily swayed. When you try too hard to sell yourself, you appear malleable. You appear to be lacking in options. If you were truly a catch, you wouldn't need the hard sell. The Ferrari dealership does not have guys in inflatable tube suits dancing out front. They don't beg you to come in. They know what they have. They are quiet. They are exclusive. Be the Ferrari, not the used sedan with the "everything must go" sign on the windshield. This philosophy extends beyond dating. It applies to job interviews, business deals, and friendships. When you walk into a job interview thinking, "Please give me this job," you smell of desperation. When you walk in thinking, "Is this company a good fit for my skills? Do they deserve my labor?" you project confidence. People want to associate with those who have standards. They want to win over the person who is hard to get. By becoming the buyer, you become the challenge. You become the prize that others want to claim. There is a danger here. You cannot fake the buyer frame if your product, yourself, is actually worthless. You cannot demand high standards if you are unemployed, out of shape, and lack discipline. The buyer frame requires you to actually possess value. You must build yourself into the man who deserves to be choosy. You must do the work in the dark so that you can stand in the light with legitimate confidence. If you are empty inside, no amount of frame control will save you. The frame is the external expression of internal reality. Build the reality, and the frame becomes natural. Start today by auditing your interactions. Look at your text messages. Are you asking all the questions? Are you writing paragraphs while she writes sentences? Stop. Lean back. Match her investment. If she gives you 20%, you give 20%. Never give 100% to someone who is giving you 0. That is bad business. That is a bad investment strategy. A high-value man protects his resources. Your emotional energy is a finite resource. Do not squander it on low-yield assets. When you go on your next date, or even when you speak to a colleague, practice the internal monologue of the buyer. Ask yourself, what is this person bringing to my life? Are they draining me or energizing me? Is this conversation worth my time? This simple check-in keeps you centered. It prevents you from drifting into the dancing monkey mode. It keeps your feet firmly planted in your own frame. Remember, the world treats you exactly how you treat yourself. If you act like a discount item in the clearance bin, people will handle you with dirty hands and toss you aside. If you act like a high-value asset kept behind glass, people will admire you, respect you, and pay the full price to acquire you. You are the selector. You are the protagonist of your reality. Stop asking for permission to exist. Stop apologizing for having standards. Stop selling. Start buying. The next time you feel the urge to impress, pause. Take a breath. Look her in the eye. And ask yourself, why should I choose her? The moment you ask that question, the power returns to your hands. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are making the choice. And that makes all the difference.